The wind was screaming like it wanted to tear the world apart, and anyone caught outside in it would not last long. On a night like this, the snow did not forgive mistakes. It buried them. Liam O'Connell heard the sound again, 3 weak knocks against his cabin door. Not loud, not steady, just enough to make him wonder if his lonely mind was playing tricks on him. No one came this way in good weather, and this was the worst storm Wyoming had seen all winter. Anyone out there now was either desperate or already dying. It was December of 1888, deep in the Wyoming Territory. The land was nothing but white and shadow, rolling hills swallowed by snow. Liam's cabin stood alone, a small block of light in a sea of darkness. Inside, the fire cracked softly, the only thing standing between him and the cold that wanted to creep into his bones. Liam was 34 years old and had lived alone for most of his life. The land had shaped him into a quiet, solid man. His hands were rough, his shoulders broad from years of work. He trusted the earth and his own strength more than people. People left. The land stayed. Earlier that evening, he had barely managed to force his cattle into the barn before the storm hit full force. Now he sat near the fire, repairing a broken bridle, the leather familiar beneath his fingers. The wind battered the walls like a wild animal. Then came the knock again, softer this time. Liam froze. His heart slowed, then began to pound hard. Bowed. No neighbor would risk this storm. The nearest homestead was miles away. Carefully, he reached for the Winchester rifle leaning against the wall. "Who's there?" he called, his voice rough from disuse. The wind answered him. Nothing else. Against every instinct that told him to stay inside, Liam crossed the room and lifted the heavy wooden bar from the door. He pulled it open just enough to look outside. Snow and ice exploded into the cabin, but Liam barely noticed. A woman stood there, swaying, barely able to stay upright. Ice clung to her dark hair, torn loose from its pins. Her face was pale, her lips blue. Her wool dress was soaked and stiff with frost. In one frozen hand, she clutched a small traveling bag. "Please," she whispered, "please help me." Then she collapsed. Liam dropped the rifle and lunged forward, catching her before she hit the ground. She was frighteningly light, like she had already begun to fade away. He dragged her inside and slammed the door shut, sealing out the storm. He laid her near the fire and fed it more wood, his movements fast and unsure. Her skin was cold as stone. Her whole body shook violently. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he asked, kneeling beside her. Her eyes fluttered open for a moment, green eyes, clear, even through the pain. She nodded weakly. "You need to get warm," Liam said, forcing calm into his voice. He grabbed every blanket he owned and then stopped. Her dress was frozen stiff. Keeping it on would kill her. He swallowed hard. "Ma'am, I'm going to turn around," he said. "You need to get out of those wet clothes. Wrap yourself in these. There's a clean shirt of mine there." "I won't look." She hesitated, fear flashing in her eyes, then gave a small nod. Liam turned his back, staring at the rough logs of the wall while fabric rustled behind him. His ears burned. Finally, a weak voice spoke. "I'm ready." He turned to find her wrapped in blankets, his flannel shirt hanging loosely on her thin frame. Color had begun to return to her cheeks. Liam handed her a tin cup of hot coffee, steadying her shaking hands. Then he gave her a bowl of stew. She ate slowly, each swallow like a small victory. "Thank you," she whispered. "I thought I was going to die out there." "What were you doing in the storm?" Liam asked, the edge in his voice slipping out before he could stop it. Tears filled her eyes. "I had nowhere else to go." He softened at once. "Eat first," he said. "Then tell me." When she finished, she pulled the blankets tighter around herself. "My name is Eleanor Vance," she said quietly. "I came from Boston. I was a mail-order bride." The words clearly hurt to say. "I answered an advertisement from a rancher named Silas Blackwood. He met me at the station this morning, took one look at me and said I wasn't what he expected." Liam knew the name. Blackwood was rich, powerful, and mean. "He left me at a fork in the road," Eleanor continued. "Said I could make it back to town before the storm got bad. Then he rode away. Liam's jaw tightened. She pulled a crumpled letter from her bag and handed it to him. The words were cold and final. Blackwood had ended their agreement and left $10 for her return. Liam did not speak. He tossed the letter into the fire and watched it burn. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "Storm should clear by morning. I'll take you to town myself." "I have no money," she whispered. "We'll figure it out." He gave her the bed and slept on the floor by the fire. As the storm raged, Liam stared into the flames, unable to stop thinking about the woman breathing softly only a few feet away. He did not know it yet, but something had changed the moment he opened that door. Morning came pale and quiet. The storm had passed, leaving the world buried under snow. Eleanor sat at the table wrapped in a blanket, her hair neatly pinned again. She looked small but composed. "I need to tell you the rest," she said. The truth. She told him about her father's failed business, her mother's death, the debts that left her with nothing, about the advertisement that promised safety and a place to belong. "I wasn't looking for love," she said. "I just wanted a home." Liam listened without interrupting. When she finished, the cabin felt heavier with silence. "You could find work in town," he offered. She shook her head. "You know what kind of work desperate women find out here." He did know. The shame burned. "You're not alone right now," he said quietly. For 3 days, the snow kept them trapped together. Eleanor cooked, mended, and learned quickly. Liam found himself talking more than he had in years. Laughter returned to the cabin, soft at first, then easier. She defended his simple home when he called it a shack. She saw the care in it. She saw him. On the 4th morning, the storm finally broke. Sunlight filled the valley. "I'll be leaving soon," Eleanor said softly. The thought hit Liam harder than he expected. Before either could say more, the sound of horses cut through the quiet. Liam looked out the window and felt his blood turn cold. Silas Blackwood was riding straight toward the cabin. Liam stepped away from the window and moved in front of Eleanor without thinking. His body reacted before his mind could catch up. Outside, 3 riders slowed as they reached the yard. Silas Blackwood sat tall on a massive horse, his coat fine, his face hard. Beside him rode the town sheriff and one of Blackwood's ranch hands. Eleanor's face drained of color. Her hands tightened around the edge of the table. "That's him," she said quietly. "I know," Liam replied. "Stay inside." She shook her head. "I won't hide." Before Liam could stop her, Eleanor stepped onto the porch. The cold air flushed her cheeks, but she stood straight, her chin lifted. Blackwood smirked when he saw her. "There you are," he said. "I hear you wandered off." "She did no such thing," Liam said, stepping beside her. "You left her to die." Blackwood laughed, slow and cruel. "Careful, homesteader. You're speaking to a man who owns half this valley." "I don't see you owning her," Liam answered. The sheriff cleared his throat, uneasy. "Silas claims the woman is his lawful bride." Eleanor spoke before Liam could. "He ended our agreement in writing and abandoned me in a blizzard." She handed the letter to the sheriff. The man read it carefully, his brow furrowing. "This says the agreement was dissolved," the sheriff said, "and that you were given money to return east." $10, Eleanor said. "As if my life was worth that." Blackwood's smile vanished. "I changed my mind." "You don't get to," the sheriff replied sharply. "Not after leaving her to freeze." Blackwood leaned forward in his saddle, eyes burning. "You belong with me, girl. I paid for you." Liam moved fast, his hand wrapped around the horse's bridle, stopping it cold. "You talk like that again, and you won't be riding anywhere." For a moment the world held its breath. Then the sheriff raised his hands. "That's enough. Silas, you're leaving. Miss Vance is free to choose." Blackwood's face twisted with rage. "This isn't over," he snarled. "You'll regret this." He wheeled his horse and rode off, his men following. The quiet that followed felt heavy. Eleanor's knees buckled. Liam caught her and guided her back inside. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I've brought trouble to your door." "You didn't bring it," Liam said. He did. They sat in silence for a long time, the fire popping softly. Outside, the valley lay calm and white, as if nothing terrible had happened. That night, neither slept much. Over the next week, word spread fast. In Stone Creek, stories grew like weeds. Some said Eleanor had tricked two men. Others said Liam had stolen another man's bride. When Liam rode into town for supplies, conversation stopped as he passed. Eleanor felt it too. When she went with him once, women stared, some with pity, others with judgment. She held her head high, but it wore on her. Not everyone turned away. The town doctor and his wife visited the cabin, bringing preserves and warm smiles. A neighboring rancher stopped by and told Liam it was about time he had company. Still, Blackwood did not disappear. One afternoon, a letter arrived for Eleanor. The handwriting was unfamiliar. The message claimed her father was alive and dying back east. A ticket waited for her in town, paid for by a generous friend. Eleanor's hands shook as she read it.
"My father died 2 years ago," she said.
"I have no brother. This is a lie." "Blackwood," Liam said at once. "He wants you gone." They rode to town together. At the bank, Blackwood waited, smiling like a man who thought he had already won. A judge stood beside him. Blackwood spoke loudly so everyone could hear. "I did this out of kindness. The poor girl is confused from living alone in the wilderness." Eleanor stepped forward. "You forged this letter?" The judge frowned. The sheriff arrived just then, holding a telegram. "I sent my own message to Boston," the sheriff said. "Her parents are dead. She has no family there." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Faces turned against Blackwood. "You left me to die," Eleanor said, her voice steady and clear. "You lied about me, and now you lie again." One by one, townsfolk spoke up. The doctor, the store owner, even the reverend. Blackwood's power cracked in the open light of truth. He stormed off, his reputation shattered. That evening, back at the cabin, Eleanor stood beside Liam, the sun sinking behind the hills. "I want to stay," she said. "Not because I must, because I choose to." Liam swallowed hard. "Life here is hard." "I know," she replied, "but it's honest. And so are you." He took her hands, rough against soft. "I don't have much." "You have enough," she said. They stood there, knowing the world would not make it easy for them, knowing storms still lay ahead, but neither turned away. And far off, beyond the trees, Silas Blackwood watched the cabin with dark, burning eyes, already planning his next move. Silas Blackwood did not return to the cabin, but his shadow lingered. In town, his name was still spoken, though now with doubt instead of fear. His grip on Stone Creek was weakening, and everyone could feel it. Liam and Eleanor kept to their routines. Days were filled with work. Nights were quiet, shared by the fire. They did not speak often about the future, but it lived between them in every glance and every small kindness. Eleanor learned the land. She rose early, helped with the animals, and found strength in work that left her tired but proud. The softness in her hands faded, replaced by confidence. Liam watched her change and felt something steady settle in his chest. He was no longer just surviving, he was building something. One evening, as the sun dropped behind the hills, Eleanor broke the silence. "I don't want to live in hiding," she said. "I want a real life, with you." Liam looked at her for a long moment. "People will talk." "They already do," she replied. "Let them." He nodded slowly. "Then we do this right." 2 weeks later, under a wide cottonwood tree near the cabin, they were married. There was no fine dress, no grand crowd, just a small circle of people who had chosen kindness over gossip. Eleanor wore a simple cream dress borrowed from the doctor's wife. Wildflowers crowned her hair. Liam placed his mother's ring on her finger, his hand shaking only once. When the Reverend spoke the final words, the valley seemed to hold its breath. Then cheers rose, simple and honest. Blackwood did not come. Life moved forward. Seasons turned. The cabin grew with an added room. Laughter filled spaces that once echoed with silence. Eleanor became known in the valley, respected for her strength and fairness. Liam's land prospered, not because it was easy, but because it was cared for. 5 years later, a lone rider approached the homestead. Liam recognized him at once. Silas Blackwood looked older, thinner, stripped of power. "I want to buy your land," Blackwood said. "Name your price." Liam shook his head. "It's not for sale." Eleanor stood beside him, their children close. "This is our home," she said. "No amount of money can buy what was built here." Blackwood looked at them, at the life he had tried to destroy. For the first time, he had nothing to say. He turned his horse and rode away, small against the open sky. That night, Liam and Eleanor sat on the porch, stars bright above them. "The storm gave me everything," Eleanor said softly. Liam took her hand. "It gave me you." The wind moved gently through the grass, nothing like the night that had brought her to his door. What began as disaster had become a life, and neither of them ever forgot that sometimes the coldest storms carry the warmest beginnings.